The game is on. Everyone in the room is leaning forward. Someone groans. Someone else jumps up. The energy is loud and collective and completely genuine. And you're watching all of it from a slight distance. Not bored exactly, not pretending, just not inside it, the way everyone else seems to be. You felt this before. The moment when the conversation turns to last night's match and something in you quietly steps back. Not because you dislike sports, just because the urgency that other people feel around it never quite arrived for you. From the outside, that reads as indifference, or a gap in personality, like something that most people have that you simply don't. But indifference and a different orientation are not the same thing. People who don't obsess over sports aren't missing a passion. They've often just located theirs somewhere else, somewhere quieter, less visible, harder to explain at a dinner table. And that difference says more about them than most people realize. The match is on. The room is loud in that specific way, collective, effortless, everyone leaning toward the same thing at the same moment. Someone groans. Someone else jumps up. A third person is already reaching for their phone to check a stat they half remember. You're there, present, watching all of it, just not inside it. Not performing distance. That would require effort you're not making. Not checking out deliberately. The energy in the room is genuinely interesting to observe. You just aren't feeling what everyone else is feeling, and you're aware of that gap in a quiet, familiar way. This has happened before, many times in many rooms. The game ends. People exhale or celebrate or argue about what went wrong. The conversation that follows has a texture. References, history, shared feeling that fills the space naturally. And you're still there, still present, still slightly outside. People notice, and they interpret. The colleague who genuinely can't understand it, not rudely, just puzzled, the way you'd be puzzled if someone said they'd never felt cold. The uncle who has tried, year after year, to find the right team to hook you with. The friend who stops inviting you to watch parties. Not as punishment, just calibrating to what he's learned. You know this moment. A group conversation pivots to last night's match. Everyone has something, an opinion, a memory, a reaction. The conversation moves fast and fluent. You smile. You nod at the right moments. You contribute nothing because you have nothing. And you're aware of occupying a kind of social silence that reads, to people on the outside, as aloofness. The assumption underneath all of it is consistent. Not caring about sports means something is missing. Sociability, relatability, the basic human capacity for shared enthusiasm. That assumption has followed you for a long time. It has never quite fit. Here's what the assumption misses entirely. The passion isn't absent. It's located somewhere else. These people, the ones who sit quietly in sports rooms, often have an area of investment that carries exactly the same intensity. A creative pursuit followed with obsessive attention. A field of knowledge that keeps pulling them deeper. A craft practiced alone, without a season or a standing stable, without anyone to share the language with in a crowded room. Research on intrinsic motivation has found consistently that people oriented towards self-directed interest, rather than externally structured competition, experience their engagement as deeper and more personally meaningful. Not better, just different in kind. The absence of sports obsession was never a gap. It was a different address for the same human need. What looks like not caring is actually caring, just about something that doesn't come with a jersey. None of which changes what it costs. Because sports isn't just entertainment, it's infrastructure. It's how a particular kind of belonging gets built, quickly, reliably, across strangers and colleagues and generations of the same family. A shared team is a shared identity. A match recap is a reason to call. You watch colleagues fall into easy rapport over a result from the weekend. Years of shared reference, effortless shorthand, a warmth that builds in real time. You don't wish you cared about the match. That's not quite the feeling. You notice what caring about it gives them. The entry point you don't have. The thread you can't pick up. The version of belonging that requires a fluency you never developed, and that no one taught you because everyone assumed it would simply arrive. It didn't, and that particular door has stayed quietly closed ever since. The people closest to them get it wrong too. The friend who eventually decides the disinterest is superiority, like they think they're above it, too refined for something so ordinary. The partner who reads the absence of sports enthusiasm as general passivity, a lack of fire, evidence of something harder to name. The parent who frames it as an inability to connect, who keeps trying to find the bridge and, not finding one, wonders what's on the other side. You've been read this way, probably more than once. And here's the part that lands differently. At some point, the reading starts to feel like information. Not immediately, not all at once, but the accumulation of being interpreted as detached, as superior, as missing something. Eventually, some of it gets quietly absorbed. You start to wonder if they're seeing something you can't. If the absence of this particular enthusiasm is actually evidence of a wider distance, a smaller range, a version of yourself that engages less fully than it should. It isn't, but the wondering arrived anyway, and it stayed longer than it deserved to. Come back to that room, the match, the noise, the slight distance. That distance looked like disengagement. From the outside, maybe it still does, but it wasn't disengagement. It was a person whose investment was located somewhere the room couldn't see, somewhere without a season, without a scoreboard, without a shared language that travels easily from stranger to stranger in a loud space. Not a failure of passion, a different address for it. People who don't obsess over sports aren't people who care less. They're people whose caring went somewhere specific, somewhere chosen rather than inherited, somewhere quieter, somewhere that required more explanation and offered less automatic belonging. That's not a deficiency, that's an orientation. The room is still loud, the match is still on, and somewhere slightly outside it, a person is present, fully, genuinely present, just oriented towards something the room can't quite see. That was never nothing. It was always somewhere.